Good afternoon, dear participants of this international conference. Thank you very much for the chance to speak to you, at least virtually. I'm sorry that it isn't possible for me to take part at your conference personally. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Christian Löhr. I'm 45 years old and I live in Munich. Since birth, I have special needs due to a lack of oxygen during birth and injury from immunization as a baby. According to these two reasons, I have spasticity in all four extremities. Actually, for mobility, I use an electric wheelchair. The doctors prophesied to my parents that I would be learning disabled and that I wouldn't be able to get a normal job, get a driving license, or live a self-determined life. I'm very glad that my parents ignored these forecasts and did everything to give me the opportunity to graduate from a normal school and become an autonomous individual. These attitudes of my parents were very important for my further life, my growth, and my access in work life. The first years in kindergarten, I was the only child with special needs in the group. From the first to the 10th class, I visited a special school for children with special needs. For my secondary education, 11th to 12th class, the same school offered classes where children with or without special needs were educated together. In my time of education, this school was not state approved. Therefore, all my previous school grants were not accepted. As a consequence, I had to graduate at the state approved school again in all subjects. Because of my spasticity, writing by hand is very hard for me. To cope with this challenge, I had the opportunity for oral examinations. After graduation from high school, I went to a university of applied science in Munich to get my bachelor in business administration. For notes during the lectures, I needed another person to write them down. The personal assistants were financially supported by the Bavarian government, the so-called Integrationsamt. After 5 years, the final examinations were again in oral form. I graduated successfully and got my first employment as a business consultant. 9 years ago, I decided to quit this job. Since then, I'm working at the Bavarian Ministry of Work and Social Affairs family and integration. I'm one of the members in the Department of Public Relations. In November 2014, I was elected as the person of trust for all employees with special needs working for the ministry. In this official capacity, I am responsible to avoid discrimination and to care for all belongings of 62 colleagues with special needs. 2 weeks ago, I was asked to join the board of the working group of all persons of trust of the Bavarian government, and I was elected also. Now I hope you know a little bit about me and the way of my education. In the next step, I would like to let you know which aspects of missing inclusion were very significant for me in the past. Also, I would like to speak about the importance of accessibility of infrastructure, buildings, materials in text, video and audio formats in education, working environment and living in general. In the 1980s, my childhood, my parents had to fight for my human right to be educated together with other children without disabilities. In former times, in Germany, it was usual to teach pupils with disabilities in special and separated schools. Nowadays, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities protect our rights. I think it's positive that a regulatory framework is getting better for people like me, but there is still a lot of space for improvement. And I think you can't reach inclusion by power of law alone. Remember that I had to repeat my graduation from high school because my school wasn't a state-approved school. It should be normal that pupils with special needs can do their examinations in every school. In my different stages of life, I often heard the argument that inclusion will be too expensive. We should never forget that everyone benefits from being, living and learning together. That's what my classmates and my friends without special needs often said to me. For them, it was a new experience to see that life can also be happy and successful with a disability. My hope for the future is that learning material will be accessible for every special need. The technical development, for example, in the internet, will help us to provide such materials. Currently, I am very happy that I can use speech recognition software to write my emails or texts. To learn something new, I often use video tutorials or other interactive media. For that reason, the improvement and further development of such or similar techniques in my eyes are very important for inclusion. Last but not least, I believe people must be careful about making hasty conclusions about the incapacity of people with special needs. We can do more and different things than most people think. Remember the forecast of my doctors. I'm glad that they were completely wrong. We all should see more the strength and the power of human beings than their deficits. It's worth to continue creating our world in a way that everyone has access to everything. Inclusion hits every area of life, not only education. Be aware that inclusion starts in heart and mind long before you see changes in accessibility to buildings, materials, and things like that. In that sense, we all should work hard to change our minds and opinions. I'm sorry that I can't answer potential questions right now personally. Don't hesitate to contact me by email for further discussion. You may get my contact details from the European Agency for Special Needs and Inclusive Education. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.